Hey, it's Yuri and welcome to this special video. This is actually a fairly controversial video where I'm going to be talking about the best cancer-fighting foods. And let me kind of put out a disclaimer to begin with. This is obviously by no means medical advice. This is what I believe based on a lot of my research and a lot of anecdotal evidence that I've seen over the past 14 years to work for those with cancer as well as those looking to prevent cancer. Again, I'm no specialist in cancer, but I thought this was actually a question that comes up quite a bit because I do have a lot of people in my community that have thyroid cancer or some form of cancer, and they're always asking, which are the best foods for fighting cancer. So let me start off by saying that there's no single food that's going to override the importance of your overall diet. Okay, so if you have McDonald's 7 days a week and then you hear me say that, hey, broccoli is actually really good for fighting cancer, then just broccoli alone is not going to do anything. Okay, so think about the overall quality of your diet as being the foundation. It has to be very clean. And when I talk about an overall quality diet, what I'm really referring to is a protocol that I discuss heavily in my book, The All Day Energy Diet. One of the energy commandments in this book is, you may have heard me say this before, is how you heal anything is how you heal everything. And obviously there are some kind of little nuances here and there, but for the most part, if you really look into it, the way to eat for preventing cancer, for preventing heart disease, for preventing diabetes, it's all the same, okay? And what it boils down to is eating a lower inflammation diet or an anti-inflammatory diet and a diet that is higher in alkalinity. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, it's the same thing. What it boils down to is eating more of your diet, more of your foods should be plant-based. Why is that? Because plant-based foods are anti-inflammatory. They don't create inflammation in your body like a lot of animal products do, refined grains and sugars do. And that's simply because they tend to be, well, the right plant foods, they tend to be higher in omega-3 fatty acids versus omega-6s, as well as other properties that they don't contain, like arachidonic acid, for instance, which is higher in many meats that can create inflammatory processes in the body. So it's not to say that you have to become vegan, because there are a lot of unhealthy vegans, but the whole idea is to eat more of your diet as plant-based and get in, if you want to have animal products like meat or eggs, make sure they're good quality, organic, free run, all that good stuff. But again, I would say a minimum of 80% of your diet should be plant-based. Okay, it's really important. And I've never come across a study that has shown that eating more vegetables and fruit harms your health. We only see the opposite. Right, when it comes to cancer-fighting foods, what we find is that the more, I refer to this specifically in one of the chapters in my book, is that the research shows that the more vegetables and fruit you eat, the lower your risk of all disease and pretty much all cancers as well. So yes, we can get into the specifics of, and I'll get into that in a second, of specific foods we can eat to prevent cancer and fight cancer, but as a whole general rule of thumb, the more vegetables you eat, I'm not talking about fruit here, because I think people who go crazy high fruit can actually make this whole situation worse, but I'm talking about predominantly vegetables is the key to really reducing inflammation in your body, increasing alkalinity in your body. And that's really important because green vegetables, and vegetables for that matter, have a higher amount of alkaline minerals like potassium, calcium, and magnesium than they do the acidic compounds protein and phosphorus. That's what makes them more alkaline once your body has assimilated them. And that's really important because your body keeps your pH balance in a very, very tight range. And Otto Warburg, through the 1920s, did a lot of research on cancer growth in acidic and oxygen deprived areas. And he was awarded a Nobel Prize in 1931 for showing that cancer cannot grow where there is oxygen. And where there is oxygen, there is alkalinity. This is 1931, okay? And if we look at where we are today, 2014, 2015, whenever you're watching this, what I want you to remember is that we have made very little progress with our ability to deal with cancer. Okay, we've made some progress in the sense of early detection and screening, which has helped obviously combat that side of things. But when somebody has cancer, like the prognosis for lung cancer is like 17% survival rate. That's pretty dismal, right? So there's a lot of things that we're doing that are really not moving the needle at all. And I think when we look back to the fundamentals of how cancer develops, it's actually really interesting. There's actually a study that was published in the journal Bioessays, and this was actually later published in the magazine Scientific American. Really, really fascinating stuff, where there's some research done out of Arizona State University where they're now theorizing that cancer is the body's kind of default protective mechanism against harsh environments. And they theorize that cancerous cells actually developed way back when, prehistoric times, when the environment, the atmosphere actually was very acidic and very low in oxygen. And that's when they kind of theorized that cancer developed. And, as kind of multi-celled organisms, we developed and kind of, took some of that in. And anyways, I have a blog post that I've written in more extensive detail about this. If you're interested, you can click on it below, or we'll probably put an annotation somewhere in this video. And I'd highly recommend you read that because it's actually very, very good information. So the whole idea is that this kind of new research out of ASU was funded by the National Cancer Institute because they realized what we're doing with cancer is not working. Okay, we need to change course. And it's unfortunate that the medical community is very stubborn and closed-minded a lot of times when it comes to looking at potentially outside of what they're taught in medical school. Again, what you learn, a lot of the stuff you learn from me is very holistic. A lot of it is very science-based, but it's also very open-minded. I believe that the only difference between magic and science is science. We've actually been able to prove things quantitatively. Magic, we haven't been able to do so yet. Okay? I talk about the life force of foods, and people talk, well, oh my God, that's woo-woo, you're crazy, you're a snake oil salesman or whatever. Here's the reality, there's things we cannot see, like the energy of a living thing that I believe in the next couple decades will be quantitatively we'll be able to measure that stuff. And at that point in time, we're going to look at things a little bit differently than we do now. Food is not just about nutrients. There are many more things inside of a food, inside of human beings, inside of all living things that make up the whole of that specific entity. And if we only look at the calories or the protein or the fat, we're missing the bigger picture. Okay? So I want you to keep an open mind when I talk about this stuff, because if you bring this stuff up to your doctor, they're going to say, oh yeah, this person's full of what. But here's the reality. The 1/3 of all cancer is lifestyle related. Okay, we know that, which means, and it's probably actually even more, that's according to some of the medical research, but there's also some other studies that are showing that it's significantly more than just 1/3. I believe that it's close to about 2/3, if not 70%, because we can impact our genes. So even if your parents had whatever cancer, you can, through your lifestyle, change your genetic code. And that's known as epigenetics, or nutrigenomics, the impact of nutrition on your genes and then your offspring's genes. So sure, you can play oh, my parents had this card and therefore I'm gonna have it as well, or you can take responsibility and be like, you know what, this is not gonna happen to me because I'm eating well. So anyways, let's talk about these cancer-fighting foods. So we talked about plant-based foods being the foundation. Within that, greens have to be the foundation. Greens are the highest form of alkalinity. They give off the highest amount of those alkaline minerals that I mentioned earlier. So kale, Swiss chard, spinach, lettuce. Really simple ways of getting this stuff in. Start your day with a green juice. Have a big green salad with whatever else you're having. And even if you did nothing else, those would be great things to start with. The big food group, other than just greens, that are really important for fighting cancer are cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but these are the big guns. They contain compounds like glucosinolates and indole 3-carbinol, all these amazing sulfur-containing compounds that are so important for liver detoxification, for improving our glutathione status in our body. And glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant that we know of, and it's only produced inside of us. So these foods actually boost our glutathione status, which allows our cells to fight what they have to fight and stay healthy and prevent free radical damage. And they're also been shown in hundreds, if not thousands of studies to reduce pretty much all pretty much most cancers, I'm not going to say all cancers, but most cancers have been dramatically reduced and prevented by a healthy dose of cruciferous vegetables on a regular basis. Okay, so you can have them raw. Well, cruciferous vegetables, I would say they taste a little bit better if they're steamed. Like, I don't personally like raw broccoli. I like to steam it so it's a bit softer. Whatever it is however you're gonna have it, just make sure you bring it into your body. Okay, it's gonna make a huge difference for your health, and that's really, really important. Other than that, we want to look at foods that are high in antioxidants. So berries, as an example, would be a great example of that. All the green foods that I just mentioned, they're very high in antioxidants as well. But from the on the fruit side, look at blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. All these berries, the darker the color, the better the benefit they provide. That's where all the anthocyanins, these are these types of antioxidants that are found in the skin of those colors. All those different purples and blues and reds, those are all incredible pigments that help your body thrive and fight disease. These are the very same pigments that help plants survive. Okay, and so now we ingest them and they help us thrive as well. So the final thing I want to mention is, cancer is obviously, some people say everyone's going to get it as long as you live long enough. I don't believe that. 1 in 2 men will get it eventually, 1 in 3 women. But I do believe that the vast majority of those numbers can be improved through lifestyle. Exercise, not smoking, reducing your alcohol consumption, dramatically increasing your consumption of plant-based foods will all make a huge difference. Okay? So I hope this video on the best cancer-fighting foods has helped you out. If you know anybody who's suffering from any type of cancer, or who wants to prevent it, then be sure to share this video with them. The final thing I want to leave you with is that when people are a lot of cancer patients are terminally ill and the medical community says there's nothing we can do for you, a lot of times these patients turn to alternative or integrative clinics. And one of the big commonalities between a lot of these integrative clinics is the use of detoxification, okay, to get heavy metals and garbage out of the body, and also to kind of bring in a lot more good nutrition, but also the incorporation of juicing, okay? Green juices, alkalinity coming into the body, because we know that alkalinity equals oxygen. And if we have lots of oxygen coming into our cells, into our bloodstream, then we also reduce our risk of cancer proliferation. So think about that, okay? When it comes to cancer, what we're doing is not really working. We have to look at alternative approaches, which again, come down to what we're doing with our lifestyle. So again, I hope this video has found you well. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to my videos for the best, most inspiring, research-based and no BS information when it comes to burning fat and feeling great and improving your health. I'm Yuri Elkaim, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.